Blah blah blah, 2D Soulslike in early access, blah blah blah, got free code from publisher, blah blah blah, fair and honest review. Got it, good, let's begin. So you start your game and pick your difficulty. When you start, there's only normal and slightly easy. Then you're shown the tutorial of the game, and so far it's a pretty good way to get familiarized with the combat and the movement, and also your first taste at the voice acting as well as the graphics, which both are well done. The voice acting is in Japanese if that's a concern to you, but it's not for me. Then once you complete the tutorial, you're taken to this witch lady and you get to pick your avatar, which is basically how you will look for the game. And what I find interesting is while you can pick what you look like, you know, male or female, the voices themselves are actually not gender locked, so you can use a female voice with a male body and vice versa. I was thinking about doing that, but I was like, we'll just stick to the normal. So there's about 16 available avatars to pick, and all of them are very well drawn here. So hopefully we do get a more down the line in order to vary things up a little bit. And as expected from a 2D Souls-like and most 2D games in general, there is plenty of combat, and thankfully it is fan-freaking-tastic, especially early on. It's very fast-paced and fluid. Basically is a mix of using quick attacks and strong attacks, as well as your divine skills, and which are basically your special attacks with cooldown, and each weapon provides them, but you can learn them from the weapon and be able to combine them. So it's pretty cool, the system that they got here. There's a bunch of little things that are included as well, like parrying, dodging, and all that stuff. So things that are similar to other Souls-like that are very quintessential to learn in order to succeed. Stamina is also a factor as expected, but is quickly recovered to keep up with that fast pace. Outside of your normal cannon fodder, you will run into bosses, and they definitely vary in difficulty and design. So far, I believe they're very well done here, and they really emphasize timing your strikes and scoring big on counters, especially. Swinging away is not the best strategy. You really have to time your hits and see when is the best time to strike for counters and to knock them off their feet. So it is pretty fun to play with, and most of them are visually unique in how they look. Though some of them are a bit tougher to judge when the boss will strike, so sometimes it gets a bit hard to really know when the best time it is to dodge and strike. So maybe if they can give a bit more hints, or maybe slow down the bosses a little bit, I think it'd serve better for the player. And the game itself is basically a Metroidvania from here on out. There's a big focus on exploration and gaining new abilities. One of these new abilities was being able to break down walls to access new areas. So it's pretty typical. Most of the abilities that I ended up finding were pretty typical of the genre, but it was still fun regardless. And of course, being a Souls-like, it will have its fair share of RPG elements. What you can do is you can level up your character and unlock different abilities to increase your abilities, or different segments on the skill tree to do so. I talked about this in Salt and Sanctuary, and the system that they have here is very similar, if not almost verbatim, which I'm fine with. I think it works very well. You can also upgrade and evolve weapons, once again very similar to Salt and Sanctuary and how you do it, as well as a bit of Monster Hunter with collecting certain materials to evolve it. So it's not just pure getting the Amida, which is basically soul points. Instead of that, it's just you have to get materials, and like Monster Hunter that you get from monsters and out in the wild and all that stuff. So it definitely is worth it to invest to evolve your weapons, unlike Salt and Sanctuary, where in Salt and Sanctuary you would evolve your weapons and sometimes it would not be worth it, but here it definitely is worth it. And along with leveling up and crafting, there are a ton of side quests to complete as well, and a lot of these are pretty interesting. Some are exploring certain mazes and trying to get through them. Others are taking down a certain special kind of enemy or group of enemies, or collecting items. So nothing unique in that way, but they're still pretty interesting to complete, and a lot of them do have unique rewards attached to them to help with combat, as well as anima and unlocking recipes. Just a bunch of stuff that I always recommend to do, and most of these you'll end up doing anyways, just going through the map. So definitely try to take on as many side quests as possible. So overall, I will say that I did enjoy my time. I wasn't like doing backflips or anything like that, but it was decent enough. But I did run into a couple of issues. One of them being the amount of content. After a couple hours in, I would say about 4 or 5 hours in, the game started to feel a bit repetitive for me due to the lack of enemy variety, even in new areas. You would see the similar kind of enemies, just maybe palette swapped with a different skin, but they would all fight the same and they would all be taken out pretty much the same. So it does feel very repetitive as a result. And the second one is the lack of any camera control. For some reason, in certain areas, the camera will tend to zoom in way too close and I'm not able to see any enemies that are coming my way, and sometimes it just pulls back too far. There's no way to really adjust it, and there's also no way to look forward to see if there are any enemies attacking you or to see where the arrows and archers are attacking from. So stuff like that does get frustrating, and it's more of a problem the more you get in the game. Now, the game isn't difficult at all, at least in my opinion, but it does have some cheap level design, one of them being the water level. I'm not sure why the devs thought that fighting in slow motion and going underwater trying to swing was fun, especially when it's very early and it was only a couple hours in before I was, traversing through the whole ocean and stuff. At the end, it is kind of worth it because you do get a nice ability for it. I don't want to say what it is, but it still was a frustrating frustrating just moving through here and moving so slow and having to swim back up in order to get some air. It really wasn't fun and just wasn't enjoyable. So I'm actually surprised that it is pretty much bug free. I didn't really run into any issues, and that's a rarity for early access titles, especially one that's being imported and coming from overseas. So I'm curious how the level of polish will be affected with more content added. So far the game is $20 on Steam, and I would say I can recommend it, but only if you like Metroidvanias. If you don't, this definitely won't win you over because this doesn't really do anything to push the genre forward or to really twist the formula or do anything unique in that way or appeal to anyone else. But if you do like them, I can definitely recommend it, or at least for you to keep an eye on to see the development of the game and to see when more content gets added and if it's worth supporting. Because the combat is to me the top point, even though it does get repetitive with the enemy variety due to it just being fast and smooth. So I would say I'd recommend, if you want it now, recommend it for Metroidvanias, fans of Metroidvanias. But if not, I think it may be better just to wait for more enemy variety and see what happens in the next major update. When that is, I'm not sure, I have no clue, but I hope you enjoyed this review and I hope it helps with your purchasing decisions. Thank you guys for watching as always, and this is Powerhouse, signing off.